is because there are a lot of people out there like me that are not professional artists. They don't even consider themselves to be amateur artists. They just like art. They like drawing, they like doodling, they like painting, they like buying art supplies. And I just thought maybe this would be a little place where people who are like me might want to hang out. So I've got a few things just gathered around. I wanted to actually show you a drawing process, but you'll see it shortly. I haven't managed to complete it. So I thought I would just take you through some of the work that I've been doing within my sketchbooks this month of August, because we are just in August. A new book, which I won't go through in detail because it will be in my August haul video, but this is such a fun book. And then just some sources of inspiration. So I hope you find it interesting. Let's dive in. So as you will have seen from the start of this little video, I've had great fun sorting out my tools, my resources. Got my pencils color coordinated into jars. I've kind of modified my drawing kit. And this is based upon some of what I've discovered within my sketchbooks this month. I feel like I should probably just jump back to look at, so you've probably, or maybe you haven't, but I completed my first everyday sketchbook in May of this year, and I just wanted to, because I haven't looked at it for a couple of months, I wanted to review in August, at the start of August, what I liked about it and what I didn't. I just went through, I literally flicked through, taking little notes, like bookmarking pages that I liked. So this I have written down, it could have been fab if there had been more layers. I like the elements within, like the boat. This is taken in Portsmouth, by the way. The cobbled stones leading into the water. I quite like the overall composition. I really like the pen and ink of this, even though it's unfinished. I liked the attempt at layering, but the colours are, in my words, duff. So I've got a mix of the watercolor paint and then Tombows and then ink over the top. And I really liked this process, which I did originally back in February 2022. Again, another one where I really like the quirky line work. So although the colors are awful, they're far too vibrant and unrealistic, I really like the detail that I got within it. Again, here my attempt at layering. The overall, I like the composition. It's very poorly executed. It's from February of 2022. But again, the layering. I think I went overboard with the heavy blacks, the heavy shadows. I like the attempt at layering here. This is one of my favorites, and this has had an impact on what I'm working on at the moment. And actually, I just bought Sandy Hester's, I can't remember if it's drawing birds or painting birds, but I just bought access to her course because I really enjoy it. Everything about this I loved, and this was from a Patreon of Jane Beata's, and I just want to explore birds more. Again, this was the combination of the negative space and the black line work. So you can see that there's an ongoing theme here. The texture. I'm quite a bit of a textile artist as well as a fashion designer. And the texture within here, I really love running my fingers over it. And that's probably why I really like this page, because of the, although it's not physical texture, just the different mixed media elements give that kind of textural vibe to me. So this is a mix of the Gansai Tanbai watercolor Art Nouveau set, and then I've got the, I think this might have been the Sigma pen that I used, not the pick, what are they called, Poscos. And then there's a little bit of Caran d'Ache Neocolor and then luminance pencils, and I really like this makes me happy to look at, I think, because of the colors, the use of the colors, the use of the black line, and the use of the layering. Like, this all just makes me feel happy. It's not brilliant, I know that, I'm just a hobbyist, but it makes me happy. And I think that if I continue pulling these things together that I really like, then actually I might be able to create some really nice pieces. And then again, this one, I've said the colors and the loose style, specifically this, like the various mediums that I've used and the looseness of it. So taking that on board, I bought this book. Well, that's not strictly true. I bought this book after going to YouTube and watching a whole bunch of different videos. So this is by Gouache, who I believe is Dutch. It's quite a weighty book, actually. I think it was about 27 or 28 euros, and it's just filled with her drawings, but it also has like tips on things that you could try to loosen up and draw more, basically. So although the style is not necessarily mine, it's been really helpful for making me just think, okay, I don't need to sit down and come up with a big idea. I can just draw something small. And that led to me, I bought this book. You haven't seen this yet because I bought it as part of my August art haul. So because my initial plan had been to fill this book within August with all my drawings. But a little side note, I've been offered a book deal for my main business, not anything to do with art. And I had to finalize the content plan and all that kind of stuff. So I didn't get to do as much art this month as I had hoped. And so I stuck in some things in order to make it like the fit, because I wanted it to be with my original book. So I feel like I'm going off on a tangent. With this one, I just kind of like, I would open a page and I would just do something. I would open another page and I would do something. So there's no continuity in terms of progression. Like, I have to look around in order to find how I progress. With this one, I wanted it to start off from the beginning of the month and just continue until it's finished. So I started the month participating in some video tutorials of Toby Sketch Loose. So this was one of his videos. I feel like this might have been Kimbolton Tower, but I'm not sure. I feel like it might be because I showed it to my brother and he said he recognized it and asked me if it was Kimbolton. So with this, again, I've got the clashing of the colors, the complementaries. I've also got the line work and I've got the negative space. Now, I'm not sure if I love it. I mean, I don't love it, but I'm not sure if I like it because it's not necessarily bringing in all the elements that I'm liking, like the layering and the texture. I feel like there might be too much white space, but if we continue, this is another Toby Sketch Loose tutorial on YouTube, and I used rubbish paper because I wasn't thinking straight, so I've just stuck it onto this piece of, this is Canson XL. Again, the colours, complementary, brights, not enough texture. Would it be better if there was texture? I don't know, like there's something I like about it, but mostly I don't. So what I then decided to do was to keep little envelopes. So I've got this one here. Oh, this one I need out actually to show you. And I've just been buying, like finding out little postcards from museums that I've collected, and I'm putting them in here for reference images. So like if I want to sit down and paint or draw something, I've got something that's going to inspire me. And the same here as well. This is Le Chapelle, which is at the Groningen Museum in the Netherlands. But I thought it might be nice to like zoom in on a section and make it quite abstract and draw it out. But I haven't done that yet. It's here to remind me that I could do these things. And then this was another Toby Sketch Loose. So this was the nighttime. It was a live that he did with somebody else whose name I don't recall, and I followed along at the same time. I'm again in that position of I don't know if I like it or I don't know if I don't. I'm no good at watercolor because this was all watercolor. I think it was my Winsor & Newtons I used because I wanted to use the transparent orange. And I don't know, like, I don't hate it, but again, I think it's where I've been heavy with the darks and it's getting that balance. But it was tricky because it was a nighttime photo that we were drawing from and I didn't want to make it too dark. Anyway, this is when Gouache's book turned up because I took guidance from it to just draw things around me. So this is my guitar across the way in the sitting room. This is the door from the sitting room looking into the room where I am now. These are my rolls of pattern making paper. This is my basket of fabrics, well, unfinished projects actually. And here there are bookshelves, but you can't see them because I left them out. And then this was the pencil wrap that I was using at the time, although I've since jigged things up. Then I had to spend quite a bit of time. I think this and the other one that you'll see in a little bit took me about 17 hours in total from start to finish for my partner's book that he's got coming out. It's a little novella. And these are illustrations. I've actually got a video showing you this process, but it's very quiet. There's not much talking in it. It's quite ASMR-y if you like that kind of thing, but I'll link it. But it was quite a process taking his original drawings and creating lino cut prints from them for the book. There were only 2 and I've still got to do the cover, but I've given up on that for the time being. And then I decided that since I was going to make this sketchbook a sketchbook to use throughout August, I would get to know my pens. So you can see I haven't quite finished that. This is a photo. I will pop it up on the screen if I remember to do so, but it's a little side street called Klein Sophiastraat. And I just wanted to experiment using my Tombow pens because I've used them in this book a few times and I didn't like the results. And having watched quite a few videos on YouTube of people using the pens in different ways, I thought, well, let me try it and play around with it. I don't hate it. I went with bright colors, which I think was the wrong decision. I mean, it's about learning, right? I am aware that this is probably going to come up in a future sketchbook tour. So I'm going to, in that video, probably just link to this so that you guys don't have to, if you watch that one, go through this again. And then my partner was watching, this is the day after, the 14th, he was watching Nibbelingalid. I don't even know if I wrote that down right. His shirt was bursting because he ate too much food. He had pizza. And he was wearing the pale green shorts that I made for him. And he was drinking a JD and Coke with ice, which is quite rare for him. But it was just nice sitting beside him. And this is like the tail end of a crocheted blanket, but just kind of like drawing. I was looking at him as much as possible rather than the page and just enjoying working with a pen. And again, you can see that this is because I was inspired from the Kusha Kuna Life is Better When You Draw It book. And then the next day on the evening, I went outside, still inspired by the book. And I sat down in the almost darkness and just drew what I could see. I did it with watercolors and I was just splodging color down. And then the next day, I came back in and I used the pencil, the luminance, and just made quirky little notes and things just to kind of improve upon it, I guess. Proportionately, it's all wrong, probably because I was drawing in the dark and I didn't have my glasses on. So it was literally the twinkle lights that were illuminating what I could see. But again, I don't mind it. It's not amazing, but it's a sketchbook piece, so it's fine. And then on the 16th, that's this page here, I did that thing that I see other people do where they section off their page with masking tape and then they like they paint and they draw and they doodle to create mini abstract pieces. I got out my chalk pastels as well. I've only got 4 colours that I think I've shown you in a previous haul, but I may have forgotten. And then the next day I just took the tape and I popped it on this side and I just doodled around it. So nothing exciting, but experimenting with colour and line. And then on the 18th I got out my acrylics, which you will have seen in a haul video. I don't remember which one, but I got these a few months ago and then I got terrified of using them. And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to swatch them out in my sketchbook. I'm just going to see what they look like. A couple of them I already had, like the golden ones, the Liquitex. It's the Ateliers that were new. And so I did some like little mixing and then I just kind of played on the page, and then the next day I went over it with Neocolor, Luminance, Oscar, just kind of like playing around with the idea of the texture again, see what happens. It actually reminds me of like a piece of woven fabric because of the lines, and I think that's why I kept going with like the crisscross woven texture, like the warp and weft of fabrics. This is Bill's Eva, the second liner cut for David's book, so I was glad to get that in here. And then that's done. I do actually have to do the cover, I've already mentioned, but we're going to worry about that another day. And then the day of the Women's World Cup, I was very excited that our non-local pub, but an Irish pub, was showing it. And we went and we watched it, and then we sat outside, and it was a beautiful day. And this old man came along, sat down, drank a pint of Guinness, and then went on his way. But he was literally sat there just long enough for me to sketch out what I could see and add some colour. So that made me happy because it was the first time I've properly sat outside drawing. And actually the bartender came out and he saw me sketching, but I'd hidden my sketchbook. He's like, "Oh, you're an artist." I was like, "Shh, no." Which I thought was really funny. And then David asked me to create a cover idea. He's already drawn a cover idea out and I think it's not great. So he asked me to do it and I did, and he was critical of it. Like, it was just a mock-up, but he was critical about how the gorilla should be somewhere else on the building. And I was like, dude, look, I don't have time to faff around. You asked me to come up with an idea. That's my idea. If you don't like it, do yours. So that's that. And then this is the image that I found out for you. So this is a plant. Okay, maybe I should backtrack a little. So part of like the Life is Better When You're Drawing book, having been inspired by that, I decided I was going to print photos that for some reason were good reference images. It's ironic because I love flowers and I love plants, but I do not enjoy drawing or painting flowers, so far as I can tell. I don't enjoy painting them, I should clarify that actually. And so I got these pictures and these photos and I was looking through them, and lilies. My mum, who sadly is no longer with us, loved lilies, and so that's why I got this one. She's actually, I'm looking at them, there's a reason why each of them exist here and it's because of her. These are really sweet. No. Roses? No, it was upside down. Like, these just don't inspire me. I'm not a botanical person. Like, I like looking at them, but I don't like drawing them, and there's just no need for them to be here. That said, I really didn't want to give up without trying to see whether I liked the topic, the subject, in a different medium. So I got out my Luminance pencils and I just started. It was one evening, so the light wasn't great either, and I just started working on this piece and I enjoyed it. I haven't finished it because, you know, book deal, content writing, coming up with a plan, thinking about contract terms, that kind of thing. So this one is still to be finished. And then I decided to switch things up and go small with my little sketchbook. And that's because the paper in here is different. Now these are actually from the beginning of August. Again, they're that playing around with the texture. So they were blobs of Roman Schmoll paint. And then the next day when they dried, I went over them with some, I feel like there's some Neocolor and Luminance pencils on both of these. And then this is again another photo that I took at the Museum of Groningen. And I just sat here on one Saturday morning drawing away. It's not a perfect, you know, I'm not here to recreate what I see in front of me, but just to practice my skills. It's not amazing, but I think I did a decent job. And then the next day, having been inspired by that, I decided that I would do something from my head. Well, it wasn't from my head, it's an actual photo. If I get it from my computer, I'll put it on the screen up there somewhere. And it's actually, we had climbed Mount Snowdon in Wales. We'd climbed there back in 2018 to the top, and this was the view from there. And so I found the photo and I just did it. Again, it was late at night. I seem to only have time to really sit down and paint stuff late at night. So that's this. Okay, I'm going to kind of jump ahead to the last 2 days and then I'm going to go back. So I don't know if you've seen it, but the Barbie film is out, and part of my main website is about teaching people how to design and sew and construct and pattern their own clothing. So I've got an article that I'm working on to do with Barbie inspired outfits and how to recreate them using sewing patterns. But I don't want to use, although other websites are, I don't want to use the images from the film because of copyright and trademark infringement. It just feels really wrong to me to do that, and I don't want to risk being sued. That's not part of my game plan for 2023. So I've spent the time like creating little thumbnails and trying to mock out different different, well, it's the same Barbie. It's stereotypical Barbie, played by Margot Robbie. And so I just pulled out the garments that I thought would be easy to recreate as sewing patterns. And I'm creating the thumbnails so I can illustrate them and put them on my website to highlight the different looks I'm talking about. Ironically, the one that's going to be the most fun and take the most work for me to create as a pattern to show people how. So there's a scene where Barbie is wearing cowboy vest or waistcoat, whatever you call it, and trousers. And it's this scene here, number 7 in my selection. And I've drawn it out 3 or 4 times and I cannot get it to look right. So that's a blank at the moment. But that's going to be the one that people are going to come to my website and find in order to make their own DIY Barbie Halloween outfits, probably. So I need to get on with that. The very last thing to show you is I took a photo of this because of the drawing in here, which I showed you at the start. So basically, this I took the photo of because of this, right? And I was like, oh, amazing. I'm going to try and draw it. And the plan was I was going to sketch it and then I was going to use gouache to, like, you know, experiment with my gouaches because I haven't used those much for anything. But I got carried away drawing it. And that tiny little section, believe it or not, took me about 3 hours. But basically, my plan is to just, over the following evenings, I will probably finish this slowly. You'll get to appreciate it one day, I'm sure. But I was thinking, initially I was thinking I would do a video tutorial of the drawing process. Well, the gouache process. But then I got carried away drawing and then I was like, oh, I could do a video of the drawing process. And then I realized it was going to take like weeks for me to actually film and edit because of how much work is involved. But this is possibly the piece that I'm most enjoying at the moment. Aside from that, that's my little, what did I say we're calling this series? Hobby notes. I've got a couple more images here that are nothing exciting. A little moped. This is like a typical Dutch street with like plants thrown in boxes outside houses. But as well as working in my large sketchbook, I also want to get out and about more using this little one. I intend to put together a kind of small container of things, like maybe a tube or 2 of gouache, a couple of pens. I'm thinking warm greys, cool greys of my Tombows, and then luminance pencils, and then of course my black ink and pencils. And I just want to experiment with this and using, you know, the resources that I've gathered. I've got lots of different books as well. Taking inspiration from this book, following some YouTube tutorials, and just kind of experiment and really find a style, not a style, but find my style based upon all that I discovered this month so far. So I hope you enjoyed that little hobby notes video. If you've got any suggestions or any thoughts or any feedback, please do leave them in the comments. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.